it's another good day, gentlemen. Dirk here with a mix of miscellaneous topics on the MGTOW solution. Before I get started, let me just point out that the video content accompanying the audio in videos like this one don't do anything more than represent some of the things I've been doing since going my own way. The video here, for example, is me snowshoeing yesterday, where I was also experimenting with this gimbaled Steadicam I'm learning to use. And I don't mean to imply that I never got to go skiing or hiking before MGTOW. I did. It's just that I've been able to do a lot more of it since taking the off-ramp. I often just let MGTOW videos play in the background while I'm doing other things, but I want to at least give you something on screen, even if it is more of a podcast. That said, this is a creative process, and I may decide to throw in some other graphics. I've been keeping a list of potential topics, and by the way, would love to have your input on that for future videos. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments. The thing is, some topics are covered pretty quickly, so today I'm just going to briefly cover several things on the list. I did a similar thing in the chapter and episode MGTOW Miscellaneous, so this will be the second one like that. Okay, here we go. Let's start with a definition of the term masculism. Everyone knows what feminism is, but what the fuck is masculism? Let's compare those definitions. And this is from Webster. Feminism, the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. Definition 2 is organized activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. Masculism. The word you've entered isn't in the dictionary. Click on a spelling suggestion below or try again using the search bar above. Okay, so right there, Webster doesn't even recognize masculism. So I took a look at Wikipedia, and they actually have it listed. Masculism or masculinism may variously refer to advocacy of the rights or needs of men and boys, and the adherence to or promotion of attributes, opinions, values, attitudes, habits, regarded as typical of men and boys. Okay, so there was at least something there, but I looked a little closer and got this from urbandictionary.com regarding masculism. Quote, the radical notion that not all men are raping, demonic monsters, but normal humans like you and me. Masculists are for equal rights and equal responsibilities between genders. The main contrast between feminism and masculism is that masculism does not embrace victimhood, doesn't want more privileges, doesn't deny the other gender's needs, and doesn't try to blame others for everything, meaning no one is bad by default. They want equal rights and equal responsibilities, and neither a patriarchy nor a matriarchy, but a democracy. If you don't want to steal from others, realize your shortcomings are not everyone else's fault, and want to share burden and privilege between genders, you are in essence a masculist, that is, gender equalist. Masculism is for everyone. Don't buy into the blind hate of others. End quote. That's a pretty good definition of masculism, and I think the next time the topic of feminism comes up somewhere, I'll bring up that term with the emphasis that it's about equal responsibility. We already have equal rights, but we don't have equal responsibilities. Next topic. Jordan Peterson. I recently viewed a video by Paul Elam, who, if you don't know, is an MRA who puts out some great content. Seriously, don't count him out because he carries the MRA label. Check out his stuff. You can see the link in the show notes. He was addressing a speech that Dr. Jordan Peterson made back in April, where he suggested that men who reject women are, quote, pathetic weasels, end quote. Of course, this pissed off a lot of guys in the MGTOW community, so I heard about it and pretty much just wrote off Dr. Peterson as a man who may be very intelligent, but still doesn't get it. I didn't bother to watch that controversial lecture until Paul Elam put it up in his video. But when I finally saw it, there was another point besides the pathetic weasel's comment that struck me as indicating Dr. Peterson is misguided. It appears that he's very concerned about the prospect of older men warning younger men about the perils of marriage, as though we're somehow polluting young minds or brainwashing men by sharing our experiences and knowledge gained through the school of hard knocks. I take issue with that point as an old guy who was warning men of all ages about the potential hazards they face. Grown-ass men can make their own decisions, and they're free to reject everything I have to say. And if they want to follow Dr. Peterson's advice instead, they're free to do so. But you can't make a good decision without good information. The MGTOW community is simply providing information, which everyone is free to accept or reject. But God forbid a man should suggest that marriage is a bad idea for men. Now, when I was a young man seeking counsel from older men regarding relationships, the only advice I got was that the trick is to find the right woman. Nobody even suggested that simply staying single was a viable option. This was followed by bad experience after bad experience with women, and then even more encouragement to keep looking. It was like getting punched in the face repeatedly, and they wanted me to say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" So what? I'm supposed to keep looking for my entire life? Even after decades of getting back on the horse only to be thrown again? And I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut about it so that young men don't get the idea that they don't have to get married? So they can keep thinking that the payoff of finding a unicorn will be so profoundly rewarding that it'll be worth all of the sacrifices and risk involved? That's nothing more than a blue pill pipe dream. And many men's lives have been ruined by this way of thinking. I'm simply trying to help men avoid that fate so they can have a more productive, happy life. And it's not some paranoid delusion being used as a scare tactic on young men just because we've had one or two bad experiences with women. Dr. Peterson is, in effect, saying that all our thought processes as MGTOW are inherently flawed. So he caught some flack from the MGTOW community and later presented a convoluted apology where he came across more as a backpedaling politician than anything else. So just to be clear, let me say it again. In my extensive personal experience with women, they take much more than they give, and long-term relationships with them is generally not worth it, as reflected by marriage and divorce stats. I therefore recommend that men of all ages forego marriage until such time as men have equal rights to women in the event of divorce, which we currently don't. Until then, men are taking all of the risks while women are taking absolutely none. If you figure none of those bad things are going to happen to you, go ahead and roll the dice. You might get lucky. And if you do, then congratulations. You've beat the odds. But my story is by no means out of the ordinary, and one of the things that prompted me to start this channel is what I see happening to young military men in divorce court. I've been working as a civilian with our troops for about 7 years now, and I keep seeing the same thing. Motivated young men stepping forward in defense of their country, taking on demanding, dangerous jobs where they spend a lot of time in harm's way. Then, upon returning home from downrange, they get divorce raped because while he was in the Middle East or something, she was shopping for an upgrade. And our society doesn't even consider the sacrifices he's made, so she can monkey branch completely risk-free. So yeah, I'm going to do what I can to warn other men and suggest a better alternative, but the choice is still entirely up to them. Which leads into the idea that MGTOW is somehow damaging to humanity because it may mean that fewer men will get married and have children. But that's not really a problem. Consider this. We have 7 billion people on the planet. About 100 years ago, it was 2 billion people. So we don't exactly have an underpopulation problem. If anything, slowing that upward trend would probably be a good thing. Animal behavior. I was watching a nature documentary where they showed the mating behavior of these exotic birds. I think it was in Madagascar. Anyway, these male birds build these elaborate little structures out of sticks and then decorate them with whatever kinds of colorful stuff they can find. They work on these for days, making everything perfect. Then, when a female shows up, she can compare the little structures the male birds have built and pick the best one. Other birds rely on plumage and elaborate displays of whatever genetic cards they've been dealt. Whoever impresses the female the most gets to mate. It was pretty fascinating footage, and I was impressed with the lengths male birds will go to in order to mate. Humans do this too. Males go to incredible lengths to impress females, and females can be very selective if they want to. So you could figure that this is only natural. We see males competing for females in most species, not just birds, so a human female might ask, why should humans be any different? And I'd say, good point, princess, but you claim to be our equals, so we're not going to do anything to impress you. Deal with it. It used to be that men worked hard to be good providers, while women put some effort into being what they used to call marriage material. But I haven't even heard the term marriage material lately. All it meant was a woman would maybe stay healthy and do her part in the relationship. Little things like not withholding sex from her husband. If a woman didn't do those things, she knew she wasn't likely to land herself a man. Hitting the wall. I have to admit, I do take some pleasure in those videos of women hitting the wall. Do a search for that and you'll see what I'm talking about. The thing about those examples is that they illustrate the reality that women finally have to face, that nobody owes them anything. It's the same reality that men face their entire lives. I see it as a kind of poetic justice when a woman's advantages finally come to an end. When a pretty girl is growing up, she's told that she's a princess. As a young woman, she has that reaffirmed by all the men chasing her. As a result, her perception of reality gets distorted. Then, if she lets herself go and hits the wall, she has to adjust to a new reality, the one where her attractiveness no longer gives her an edge over men or over other less attractive women. They become just like everybody else. I suspect that this is a rude awakening for women who have become accustomed to having things handed to them on a silver platter. Welcome to the real world, ladies. Now get to work like the rest of us. That is, of course, unless they're married. In that case, they already have their resources locked in, and they can always just collect their cash and prizes in divorce court and move on if they want to. Now, women do have some control over when they hit the wall. If they take care of themselves, it can happen later in life, particularly if they have good genetics to begin with. But women have mostly decided they don't need to do that because with their inflated sense of self-worth, they figure they don't have to. We're supposed to accept them no matter what. Otherwise, we're guilty of fat shaming or misogyny. Arguably, men hit the wall too, as far as appearances go, but it's usually much later in life, and sometimes it actually never happens at all. Besides, women aren't nearly as interested in men's appearance as they are in their resources. Yeah, looks count, but not as much as money and a properly behaved male. That is to say, a man who knows how to treat a woman. There are lots of men out there who aren't particularly attractive with gorgeous wives. This is because there's actually a different definition of men hitting the wall. In a female brain, a man losing his job or taking a pay cut is the male equivalent to hitting the wall. That's why it's common to see unattractive males rich in resources with attractive females, but not attractive men who lack resources. It's gold digging 101. The old saying still applies. Men age like wine, women age like milk. Women lack original ideas. Not too long ago, some women decided that they were going to start something called Women Going Their Own Way, or MGTOW. I don't think it caught on, but it demonstrates that women commonly try to plagiarize men's ideas because they can't come up with their own. They did the same thing with the term bros before hoes when they started saying chicks before dicks. I think the idea is to give us a taste of our own medicine, but my reaction to the MGTOW idea was, yeah, please, by all means, go your own way. I fully support the idea of MGTOW because it means these women will also pay their own way just like men do. Nobody that I'm aware of came out to complain that MGTOW would be a disaster for society or that such women were losers who couldn't get laid. Fuck, I really need to do a video about double standards. My only point here is that it's men coming up with the clever stuff, while women's original ideas usually result in things like vagina hats and slut walks. Still, it does have some entertainment value. TRADCON women versus MGTOW. I saw a posting from a guy who was arguing that MGTOW is an unnecessary sacrifice and that you shouldn't have to give up getting laid. He said the key is to find a traditional conservative woman instead. First, nobody said MGTOW have to give up sex. You just have to be very careful. Second, where do you find a traditional conservative woman? Maybe in church? Okay, but she's still going to want to get married. And is that because she believes that sex outside of marriage is a sin? Maybe. Or maybe that's what she's saying, but the real motivation is the promise of guaranteed resources, even if it doesn't work out. And even if she is a traditional conservative woman, women have been known to evolve over time, transforming from loving, supportive wives into spiteful, hateful bitches. I don't think I'm the only guy to see this firsthand. It happens all the time. In my mind, TRADCON hottie or not, marriage is still a bad idea. Women at a decision point. There are countless examples of how women have advantages over men, but I just want to talk about one of them, and it's a big one. Women have the option of finding someone to take care of them early in life, while men have no such option. Sure, there might be a few exceptions to the rule, but the fact is, if you're a male, you might as well just plan on working your ass off your whole life. You have no other alternative. That isn't the case if you're female. Consider a young woman fresh out of high school. She generally has 3 choices: continue her education, go to work, or find a man to provide for her. That last one is frowned upon, and this puts a young woman in a difficult position if what she really wants is a family and kids. So she's told she can put that off until later and just focus on herself right now. Everything will be fine. And this is exactly what most women do because they believe they can have it all. Feminists told them so. Then they hit their 30s and realize they might not have that last option forever. We all know this, but put yourself in her shoes. Most women don't like the idea of working full-time until they're 65 or 70. But they weren't thinking about that when they were 18. So she's standing there at 30 with no man in sight, realizing that she might have to keep earning her own money for the next 40 years. She feels cheated. Sorry, Puddin', life is tough. And who does she blame for her predicament? Obviously, men. Because after all, they don't want to marry her. She did the strong, independent woman thing for a decade or so, but then realized, fuck, work is hard. Why can't she still cash in on that other deal, where a guy does all that crap and she can just take care of the kids? Nobody told her that was a limited time offer. Back in her prime, There were probably several men ready to step up and commit totally to her. Where did they go? Well, they married other women because you blew them off, Cupcake. Deal with it. Now consider a young man fresh out of high school. College, work, military, any other options? How about getting married? He could do that, but he's still going to have to work. Actually, he'll have to work more, a lot more. And does he have the option of finding a woman to take care of him financially, like women do with men? Of course not. There's another double standard. Even if he's the hottest guy on the planet, he's going to be expected to earn a living. And men accept that because we understand the concept that you don't get something for nothing. Men know that they have to earn their keep, and usually do so for 50 or 60 years without complaint. But the young woman here just worked for a single decade and wants to tap out. Well, sorry it isn't working out for you, pumpkin. Now get back to work. Women can work their entire life if they choose to, but they don't have to in most cases. It's a choice that men don't have. So the question, are you going to work for a living or not, only applies to women. Ask a man that question, and he'll look at you like you're an idiot. Of course he's going to work for a living. But there's a window of opportunity for women, a window that's been largely closed by feminists. As a man, can you even imagine having the opportunity to decide whether to work your whole life or not? You probably can't, because you never had that choice. The very concept sounds ridiculous. But women have that opportunity for roughly 10 years of their life, when they're in their prime, and they have a choice to make that'll impact their entire lives. They can't blame men if they don't take advantage of that opportunity. When young people decide to get married, there's no question that the man's life will get harder while the woman's life will get easier. That's the case whether the marriage survives or not. But like young women, young men also have a choice. It's just not whether or not they'll have to work for a living. They will. But they can choose whether to get married or not. If you're not sure, then keep watching MGTOW videos. Then decide. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. Go ahead and hit subscribe on your way out if you like what I'm doing. Give the video a thumbs up and thumbs up all MGTOW videos because that helps spread the word. Thanks for listening once again, and have a great day.